So, welcome everybody to this session. My name is Magnus Goksöyr. I'm a Swedish guy working in Norway as a solution architect for the IT company Skill. Today, I'm going to show you in 30 minutes how you can use Microsoft Teams to simplify Office 365 governance. And since governance is a large area that encompasses almost everything, I will keep a quite high pace in this session. So let me start by presenting my definition of what governance is for me. For me, governance is to ensure that all services, we'll call it apps or applications, are well documented and configured to support your goals, your standards, your policies, and guidelines. And also to have and use a process and a tool to cope with all continuous news and updates that constantly are coming up in Office 365. So, but before we start to look at the governance plans, there are some activities that you should have done in advance to adapt and secure your environment. The output of these activities is an important input to your governance plans. Many of you work in the EU, and you know how important it is to perform a data privacy assessment, to be GDPR compliant. And you must define and implement standards, policies, and user guidelines. And you should also have a clear overview of ownerships and responsibilities. And very important, like Chirag Patel talked about in his session earlier today, you should have implemented necessary measures to secure your identities, devices, services, and data. And as you can see, these are activities that take some time to do. So given the time we have available today, we assume that your organization has already completed these activities and the prereqs are in place. So next step is to produce the governance plans. So what are the governance plans? Well, no one else likes to read or update very large documents. So my tip is to first create the parent governance plan, which is a basic overview with common topics that covers all of the underlying services. And then create one governance plan for each service. So what information should a governance plan contain? The parent governance plan should contain information that are relevant for all the underlying services, such as how you secure devices, identities, and data, how you manage on and offboarding of users, for example, when someone starts a new company and when someone ends his employment. GDPR compliance, who is responsible for what, and how you manage user adoption and education, how you manage user support, and how you handle change management. And you see a lot of additional bullets here, so it's sort of up to each company what is important for them to have documented. And the governance plan for a service, it should contain information on why you use it or why you don't use it. And if you don't use it, then it's very good to describe how you block it or hide it. And also an overview of ownership and responsibilities for that service, how to manage access, external sharing settings for guests, etc., which security settings you have implemented for the service, and how to provision new solutions, when and how to archive or delete retention, which activities to monitor and which alerts that are set up. And of course, how and when you should perform reviews. So, since there are no standardized templates for governance plans available, it is up to each organization to develop them. And if you work as a consultant, like I do, I recommend that you create a set of templates and use them with the clients you work for. And I am also now currently developing a standard set of basic governance plans that I plan to make available on GitHub. So if you want to get information when they become available for download, you can follow me on Twitter or on GitHub here. You see the links in the left corner. And since we are in a hurry today, we need to do like the TV chefs, and therefore we assume that the governance plans are already created for you. One common question I often get is, how can I handle all updates in Office 365? Well, since there are very many sources of information and we have many applications we need to control, the answer is you must divide responsibility over several people and reduce the noise. Often you visit companies where there are 1 or 2 persons responsible to maintain and monitor all the changes in Office 365. But that's quite a mission impossible. So it's very important that you divide it over several people. So as you all know, one person cannot be responsible for everything, although it may work on paper. So we need a simple and efficient process to monitor and manage updates. And if your company does not have a change management process in place, you can use this simple variant where you establish a change board and get the right people on the bus, such as service owners. And those should be preferably enthusiasts who actually have a genuine interest for the task. And make it easy for the service owners to stay on top of the upcoming updates. And create and customize a planner plan where the service owners register the relevant updates. And you should perform regular and recurring meetings and work through all the updates in the plan. So the pre-requirements are in place, the governance plans are created, the change boards and the service owners are defined. And this was the tiring part of governance. So we just jump on to the next page. So now let's take a look at how you can build a governance center based on a Microsoft team to put all this into one system. To do that, you open Microsoft Teams and create a new team. And since we do not have a template, we choose to build a team from scratch. And we make it private, since all employees should not have access to the team and to all those data that considers the security settings, etc. Then we enter the name and the description, and we press create. And as usual, when we create teams, there is no need to add members to an empty team. So we skip this step until the team is configured and filled with relevant information so that it becomes interesting. So now we have created the team. And in the next step, we are going to add the relevant tabs to the general channel. So in order to keep track of ownerships and responsibilities, we create a responsibility list in order to keep track of who is responsible for what. And since we do not create lists in Microsoft Teams, we need to do that in SharePoint. So in the general channel, we click on the Files tab and then select Open in SharePoint. And in the SharePoint site, we click the gear icon and select Add an app. And we select a custom list and give it a name, responsibility, and then we press Create. And to make the list easy to access, even if we open it from SharePoint, we add the list to the quick launch. So we edit the list settings, then we click on list name, description, and navigation. And we select yes in display this list on the quick launch. and then we press save. Now we already have the title column, but we need another column to store the name of the person responsible. So in the list settings, we click on Create Column, and we name the column Responsible and choose a type Person or Group. And now the SharePoint list is created, so let's go back to our team. And as I said earlier, this list should be easily accessible, and therefore we add it as a tab in the General channel. To do that, we click on the plus sign and choose SharePoint. And here we click on Lists, and we select the list we just created, and then press Save. So now we have a nice overview of responsibilities as a tab in the channel General. And what's left now is to enter the services and their owners. So now let's head on to the next tab in the General channel, where we are going to enter the governance plan. And since the governance plan is also to be regarded as a general information, therefore we place it in the channel General. So also here we click on the Files tab and select Upload. And when you have uploaded it, you press the ellipsis and choose Make it a tab. And as you see, we now have the parent governance plan as a tab in the General channel. Now we leave the General channel for a while and jump over to Change Management. So we are going to create a channel that we will use for our change process. So click on the ellipsis to the right of the team name and then select Add Channel. And set the channel name to Change Management and then click Add. Planner is an excellent tool to manage and plan for the introduction of all updates in Office 365 from the roadmap and other sources. And therefore, we want to add a change plan to the channel. So we open the Change Management channel and add a new tab. We click on the tab type called Planner. And since we don't want to create an additional plan, we choose Use an existing plan from this team. Then we select the plan that belongs to the team and click Save. And by default, the tab gets the same name as the team, and we want short names of the tabs. So we rename the tab to Change Plan. So now the change plan is in place and available as a tab in the channel. And now you can add the buckets that fits to your change process. And if you don't already have it, you can use the picture I showed you earlier in the slide and add those buckets there. So now the service owners can use the plan to register updates as soon as they discover them. And in the next change meeting, you open the change board and go through all the updates and assign tasks, set deadlines, and move the tasks between the buckets through the whole process. It is of great importance that the change board have regular meetings to analyze and discuss the updates that have been identified. So given the pace of change in Office 365, I recommend that you have change meetings with the board at least once a month. So create the meeting in a channel. By opening the calendar and setting up a regular and recurring meeting with the relevant permanent participants, you ensure that the meetings are conducted with the necessary frequency. And when discussing updates or launching new functions that are relevant to or may have a greater impact on different parts of the organization, it is important that these meetings also include representatives from the relevant organizational units. So don't forget to add them as members in addition to the members that are always there, permanent. We have previously looked at how important it is to appoint service owners. A service owner should only have to focus on his or her application. And therefore, we will now look at how we can set up a channel for an application so that the service owner has access to what is relevant to him or her. We start by creating a new channel, and in this example, we create a channel for Microsoft Teams. We select Add a Channel, then we enter the name of the service, and then we click Add. We will now continue to tailor the channel for the service. And since the service owner needs to focus on his or her application, we filter the Microsoft 365 roadmap so that it only shows what is relevant to him or her. We are not interested in the past, so now we filter and thus generate the URL, and then we copy it for later use. And in order to do this, we open the Microsoft 365 roadmap, we enter the name of the service, then we filter on in development and rolling out. Then we go to the address bar and copy the URL. And then we go back to our team. And of course, we want it to be easy to access the filtered roadmap, so we want to add it as a tab. So we add a tab to the channel, and then we choose the tab Website. We name it Roadmap, and then we just paste the URL to the filtered roadmap. Last but not least, of course, we save. So now you can see the filtered roadmap is in place, and the service owner has a good overview of the updates he or she needs to have control over, and is focused on in development and rolling out. So now let's head on to the next step and add the governance plan for the service. Since I love tabs, I want to upload the governance plan for the service and then make it a tab so it is easy accessible for the service owner. So you upload the governance plan to files, then select the plan and click Make this a tab. And now the governance plan for the service is in place. So over to alerts to a channel. Since you usually do not have a backup solution for Microsoft Teams, and it's only possible to recreate a team for 30 days from the time of deletion, it can be nice to get information about someone deleting a team. So we go to the channel, we get the channel email address. Then we open Office 365 Security and Compliance, and we create a new alert policy. We enter a name of the policy and a description. Then we select the trigger, and in this case, we select the deleted team. And in the field Send this alert to, you paste the email address of the channel you just copied. Last of all, we click Save. And now, as you can see, alerts are sent to the channel if someone deletes a team. And now the service owner can detect unwanted deletions and thus act and recreate deleted teams before they get permanently deleted. And similar alerts can also be set up for SharePoint, and there are lots of alerts that you can set up. But since you do not want to drown in alerts, you have to keep it at a reasonable level and just trigger alerts for the most important events. Finally, we are going to add a OneNote section so that the service owner has a place to take notes regarding the service. So we start by adding a new OneNote tab. And since the team already has a notebook, we want to use that one. So in the current notebook, we create a new section and give it the same name as the service, in this case, Microsoft Teams. Then we will rename the tab to Notes, so the tab name does not take so much space. Now the notebook section for the service is in place, and the service owner can quickly access it via the tab. So now we have set up the basic components of a service channel. What remains now is to continue to create one channel per service until each service has its own channel with the relevant elements. And this governance center team is also a great place to store all other detailed system documentation on how your organization secures identity, devices, and data. So I think it's great to have all governance plans, system documentation, operational documentation, and user documentation gathered in one place. And by doing this, you can easily refer to and link to these detailed documentations from the governance plans. And finally, if you do not want to use Office documents as governance plans, then OneNote can be an excellent for all documentation. And it is not impossible that there will soon be a blog available about that. Just stay in touch. So we have, in the general channel, we have created a responsibility list and a tab for it. We have uploaded and created a tab for the parent governance plan. In the change management channel, we have created, configured, and added the change plan as a tab. We have created a recurrent change meeting. And in the channel for a service, we have uploaded and created a tab for the governance plan. We have added a filtered roadmap. We have configured alerts. And we have configured a OneNote section for the service and added it as a tab. So this is what we have accomplished then. We have a clear documentation on how we secure devices, users, data, and services, all stored in one place. We have also divided the responsibility to several service owners so that it is easy to keep up to date with all updates. We have created filtered roadmaps to be able to focus on what's relevant. We have a clear overview of ownerships, responsibilities. And we have also established a simple change process that all service owners can understand and participate in. So we have one single solution that the service owners need to relate to. They can focus on their channel that handles their service and avoid noise from other services. And they can easily find and manage and update their governance plan. They get informed via alerts to their channel if something undesirable occurs. And all relevant notes for their service is stored in the team notebook. That was all I had for today. Now we have some time left for questions. Does anyone have a question here? No questions? Okay, then that's all for today from me. I would really appreciate if you give your feedback on my session via this link. And you are, of course, welcome to follow and contact me. And if you have any additional questions regarding Office 365 governance or general questions about Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Yammer, or any of the other services in Office 365. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. And I hope you will have a nice Oktoberfest with many interesting sessions. And do not miss Carolina Ketukari's session at 1 o'clock when she will talk about the myth behind engaging the management. That sounds like a really engaging topic to me. Hope to see you all again, and bye for now.